What's up, Brittany?
Nothing much. Sup your way.
Nothing much except the debut episode of a brand new podcast that you've never been on before.
Right.
Right. Among other
Right.
things.
Yes.
This is a brand new podcast for people watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on our podcast. This is a brand new show, and people are familiar with my voice. They're probably tired of my voice at this point, Brittany.
And they don't know me at all.
What's
They don't know me at all.
Oh, they will know you very soon. Fortunately, if you haven't caught on, Brittany and I are really good friends, so we rib each other all the time. But they know me from Living La Vida Low Carb Show and Keto Talk and so many other podcasts I've done over the years. But this is going to be a podcast unlike any other. And you and I have been talking about this kind of thing for a while. And I think the conversation we had recently where we were like, hey, we should let people eavesdrop in on the conversations we have. We don't usually do it on video, so it's kind of funny seeing you all dolled up on video with a light in your face. I've got highlights on my Jimmy Rand studio up here as well. But like, we want to take people literally, the title of the show, one step deeper. Because, tell the story about how you couldn't find this kind of podcast and yet you were looking for it.
Yeah, so I love podcasts. I love and search for all kind of my particular type of podcasting that I listen to. Obviously, I listen to you and all of your podcasts for several years now, and that's pretty much as far as I go in the health world. But I love the in-your-face mindset type of podcast. But every single one I got on, it still is fuddy-duddy is not the right word and kind of rude. I don't mean it that way, but still like very surface level. And like, I just like, can someone get raw, real with me? Like, please, like, stop telling me that everything's going to be okay. Like, please tell me, no, it's probably not going to be okay today. And you're going to have a really hard time. And this whole mindset journey is really, really, really hard. But, like that's what I was looking for. And it was funny that you and I were having that conversation and how one step deeper got started. It just clicked. And I don't know what that was like last week. I don't know. It happened so fast.
It was last week because we were talking and you're like, yeah, I love podcasts, but they just need to go, I don't know, one step deeper. And I said, that's it. And you're like, what happened? What? I was like, one step deeper is the perfect name for a show. Because like when you and I talk, and we're the best of friends. So when you and I talk, we go way deep, and people are going to get to hear that on the show. We got a great topic for you guys here today in the very first episode, but we don't have a shortage of topics. It's how can we cram in, because we have so much to say about going deeper on all kinds of things, and especially mindset, especially belief systems, why you believe what you believe, especially what makes you tick. Like both of us have been through some significant trauma in our lives. This show won't be specifically about trauma all the time, but it definitely kickstarted a lot of these kind of thought processes that we're talking about on this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trauma is definitely something, and we've had that conversation, you and I, the in-depths of the trauma that we went through, and it just happens to shape so much of who we are and our belief systems and all of that. So it's kind of tied in there, but like you said, it's really not, the podcast isn't meant to be just about trauma, but we obviously are going to go there at some point.
Yes. So I just remembered, because I'm trying not to be in podcast mode. So I'm kind of like trying to be casual, and I forgot to tell them our names. So I'm Jimmy. Oh. If you haven't noticed the voice by now, I'm Jimmy Moore, and that's right. Brittany Davis. And we are one step deeper. And it's, we need those kinds of conversations to take place. We do, by the way, you guys have an Instagram page, One Step Deeper Podcast. And then we have a Facebook page, She Imagine, One Step Deeper Podcast. Go look it up. And coming soon, we will have a website available for you guys to catch this show. We are planning on making this both a video podcast on YouTube as well as over on all the places you can listen to podcasts. So if it's not quite there yet, it will be. Maybe you're listening in 2022 and you're like, oh, y'all been there forever. Yes, but if you're new, that's the plan. But let's get right into it. Like I think we have so many conversations that just start organically and we just go, 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 go. So your debut podcast appearance, Brittany, I want you to take the lead. Go.
Oh gosh. Well, I think we had discussed Welcome to Chaos as our first hey, let's introduce everybody to us in the chaos that will be as follows. And as far as Welcome to Chaos, you have to know a little bit about my story. I am a perfectionist, and when I say perfectionist, I mean really bad. Like, I have so many perfectionist tendencies. It is insane. Please ask Jimmy, as I have stressed a lot about, do I need this or do I need this, and where do I need to be, and do I need a background, and what do I need for the podcast, what do I need to do? And he's like, just bring you.
By the way, your picture behind you is crooked, so I just thought you'd want to fix that when you're done. Now it's going to bug you. It's going to bug you the rest of the podcast.
It is. I want to turn around and look
just
at
turn
it.
Turn around and fix it now. Get that perfection in mind all good.
Yes, and so part of that perfectionism was birthed out of trauma, and it was a trauma response of just trying to be perfect for the people that really forced that on me, and so it just kind of developed and got a lot worse when I had children. And chaos is not something that I like in my environment because I grew up in chaos, and I know you could probably tell the exact same story. Every moment of every day was pure chaos. And so as an adult, I do absolutely everything to avoid that. My house is pristinely clean. And if it's not clean, I kind of have a mini upsetness. Not mini, it's really bad. But I like my space clean, and I don't do well in chaos. But I also know in order to tackle those perfectionist tendencies, welcoming chaos is part of the healing process.
Well, and yes, and I want you to tell some of the story of your chaos as a kid, so that they understand. I'll share some of mine. So I came from divorced parents, and I, had my mom divorced her second husband, and I had guys coming in and out of the house. Like, and I think I've told you this off the air before, but like they would come in, screw my mom. I'm 10 years old, 11 years old, down the hall. I can hear my mom orgasming. And it's like, real, like I thought she was getting hurt. I didn't know what sex was. And I hear her screaming, oh, oh, oh. And I'm like bawling my eyes out as a 11-year-old, not knowing what's going on. New guy coming in every day, getting their jollies with my mom. Again, I didn't know. And it's like, that was traumatic, like to the core, and it was chaos to the core. And sometimes they would be nice. Sometimes they didn't give a shit about us kids. There's three of us, and it was bad, Brittany. Like I'm sitting there going, what is going on? Is this normal? And after a while, and you can testify to this as well, when the chaos is going on and it goes on and it goes on, it becomes normal.
Yes, it becomes your normal. Yes, I have had, and I don't want to get too far off topic, and I'm gonna go right back to our stories, but I've had this conversation with family members very recently about, they were like, I don't understand why this one family member, she's always drama. She's always looking for drama. And I turned it around real quickly and I said, no, look at it a different way. She was in chaos her entire life in her childhood. And so that was her comfort zone. Chaos was her comfort zone. So she craves that because that's the only way she knows how to function is within drama. And so, yes, it becomes our comfort place when we have this constant stuff around us, this constant chaos. It becomes our normal.
And the thing is, like, then once you get plucked out of that situation and into the real world and on your own, you wonder why everyone else isn't in the chaos, and you're wondering, oh my gosh, like, what's wrong with these? And I think about those, and I know people in my life who are in the midst of, being in a home with
Yeah.
narcissists. Narcissist.
Right.
I had a narcissist dad. You had narcissists in your life, and then you get out of, it's like you expect that. It almost draws you to those kind of partners in life and people, relationships, and friends.
Yes. Yes. There is definitely a pattern in what we choose for ourselves. And I feel like the talk about childhood just gets run over. Like, oh, my childhood was fine. I turned out fine. That's probably one of my most disgusting hearings that I hear. Oh, I turned out just fine. But did you really? I mean, how about all those tendencies to just immediately react to anger? How about this drive that you must have to have drama in your life? Come on now. That was childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not always chalked up to your experiences. Well, that's just the way I am. That one
Oh,
pisses me off to no end. Oh, that's just my personality. Just deal with it. I'm like,
oh,
well, slap the shit out of your personality because it's bad.
Oh gosh, I hate that. That's another one of my things that I just cannot stand. It's, oh, this is just the way I am. And I just want to be like, grow up. Yeah. Just it's okay to have learned these things, but it's also please unlearn them and reparent yourself. That's kind of a term that I use often. Just reparent yourself. Like, okay, you didn't have good parents. Neither did I. Neither did Jimmy. We had our shit ton of drama in our childhood. And listen, I'm 28. Jimmy, late 40s. I don't know how old you are.
40,
Uh,
48.
48. Okay. And so 28, 48, it's, literally taken us to this point in our lives where we're willing to turn around and face it and be like, no, yes, this is how I was, but let me unlearn and reparent myself.
And now you're the mom of three beautiful little girls, and you're trying to not pass on those negative traits that now you have as a result of the chaos in your childhood to those kids. Can some of you do to try to stable in the midst of your own dealing with chaos?
You're opening all the worms today, just all the cans. They're not organized. They're everywhere.
We're going one step deeper. What are we doing here?
Right. So let's go back to my childhood just a little bit. Let's just touch a little bit on that so you can see why I am the way I am today. So, my parents were extremely young when I was conceived. They were both still in high school. Um, those relationships very extremely rarely work out. And in that case, they did not work out. And I didn't really have my biological father in my life for a while. And so my mom remarried, or well, didn't remarry. She got married for the first time. My parents were never married.
Wow.
And the stepdad at this point, I mean, he was dad. Like I called him dad. He was everything to me. He was dad. My brother came along when I was 8 years old. My mom had really just at my birthday party, my 8th birthday party, my mom ended up in the hospital, diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, was completely paralyzed on her left side. Then starts my perfectionist, well, not really starts, but then just hyper actively started the perfectionist tendencies of taking care of my mom and my brother who was 4. I was 8. All of these things. I'm fast forwarding so fast through my story, guys. When I was 12 years old, my stepfather at the time began sexually molesting me. And I went through a full year of trauma with that. Keep in mind, he was a horrible person in general. It wasn't just like, ooh, he's great all day. And then that at nighttime, he yelled and screamed. And every single moment, it was explosive. You never knew who was coming home. You just never knew what you were going to get. And so I lived in constant fear. My mom and him got divorced. Praise the Lord. We moved in with my grandparents for a while. All the while, my mom's going through her own. I mean, you can imagine. My mom is constantly dealing with him in a different way. And so my mom's dealing with her own trauma at this time, and me and her just implode. I moved in with my dad. All hell breaks loose there. I mean, like, guys, it's just been one thing after another.
So no chaos in your life whatsoever.
No, totally stable. Everything is stable in my life. And so childhood was just one thing after another.
Yeah.
And I didn't want children because I did not want them to go through that. I did not want to bring somebody on this earth. I had my own trauma to deal with. You know, just like my mom, I had my own stuff to process, and I didn't want to put that on a child. And so I knew having a child was not just having a child. It was, okay, you got to face all of that back there to get over there. Then I met my wonderful husband. You will probably hear his name very often. We call him Wild Man.
Wild Man.
Wild Man. I met Wild Man, and he wanted children so bad. He loves children, always has, always wanted a daughter, and he begged for that and got 3 of them. And somewhere along the way, I never really, like, I love my children, but being a mom is so extremely hard because I have to, looking at your children, they are a mirror for your trauma, and children can be one of the biggest triggers that you have in your life. And children are chaos in themselves. It doesn't matter if they're in a good home or not. Like,
and you guys, Brittany homeschools those 3 kids. They're there all day long, every day. You never get a break.
Yeah. Welcome to chaos, right?
Chaos.
Welcome to chaos. So, I love my girls. I love them so much, but they have been such a huge drive for me to deal with all that stuff back there, to deal with all of that and face all of that so that it doesn't get carried on to them. My family, even though all of this has happened, I'm still very close with my mom and my biological father. After much healing and many conversations and many one-step deeper conversations to face that stuff back there. We are close, and they like to poke fun at me about how I parent, you know, because it's very different than how anybody else parents that I know.
Yeah, the was it gentle parenting? Is that what it's called? Rather than spare the rod, spoil the child, the whole. And we're going to do a whole episode, you guys, all about some of the religious overtone that gets people to do things that may not be, no matter if you're a Christian or not, may not be what the Bible actually says, but they believe.
Right.
Yeah. So your story of chaos as a kid, I was just like smiling as you were telling your story, because I'm like, yeah. Okay, then you went to that. Okay, that, because that was my story too.
Right.
Years old, my mom divorces the stepdad that I did like. It turns out that he was nothing to her. He just was ambivalent. And so wasn't anything to her, but nothing was better than abusive. So that's why I loved him, because he was like perfect stepdad, didn't abuse me. I got that from my dad, and then the stepdad that I had after this guy. But like those few years after that, when mom was dating and basically having sex with everything that had a heartbeat, it felt like, and being exposed to that, I was in chaos.
Right.
I told this story recently on Instagram Live. When I was in Pensacola, Florida, I stole some bubble gum from a store because I was so distraught in my life and mom wasn't listening. I'm like, I'm going to steal some bubble gum. I'm going to get her attention. So I got arrested, and she had to deal with that. And it was like this cascade of things that happened from there. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Why are you not talking to me? I've been trying to talk to you. And like, that's the thing. You're a kid screaming out, please, somebody listen. And I was hurting, didn't fully understand what was happening. And then next thing I know, I'm getting shipped to live with my abusive, at least verbally abusive dad.
Right.
And that was right as I turned 14 was when I went to live with him. And the verbal abuse turned to physical abuse. And you talk about the daily, you didn't know how your stepdad was going to react. that was me around my dad. And the thing with my dad, see if you relate to this. I know you do because we've talked about it, but he would be charming at times and lure you in and act like everything was normal and be a normal human being, but then bam, switch, and then you're in the line of fire. And I would get hit upside the head, like the walls. I mean, he was ugly, ugly from a physical level. But I think the ugliest part and the thing that took me a while to calm the chaos myself was the mental stuff. Like he would feed things in my head, Brittany. I was an honor roll student through all that abuse, and you were too. This is why we're 20 years apart in age, but we have such similarities in our story with all the everything. It's why we're the best of friends. But like he would basically say that I need to go to reform school, and I didn't even know. I thought it was like a college I was going to go to when I graduated. I didn't know what reform school was, but all this stuff, and I'm just like, no girl will ever want to be with you. And so he kind of planted this not feeling confident in myself, like I needed a dad. I didn't have a dad. And to this day, that motherfucker doesn't even admit he abused me. And that shit hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where the person who abused me is. I don't know where he is. I don't want to. But what?
You're lucky.
Yeah. 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 In that case, I am. Oh my gosh. Here we are. One step deeper, man, already. I'm feeling it.
I told you, girl. This is how you and I talk all the time anyway. So
all the time, yeah.
It's not like we're doing anything different. We're just doing it in front of all the people watching and listening.
Right, right. Yeah, I had the similar experience with him. It's like I always knew when he was coming to my room. I always knew when he was calling me in the living room. I always knew. He came home and he'd be snippy towards my mom and snippy towards my brother and couldn't wait for them to go to bed. But he was just overtly nice to me. And I knew, like I always knew. And I almost prayed for him to be mean to me during the day. Like, please just yell at me, please, because I know then you won't be messing with me. But the whole schooling, oh my goodness. The standards in my house were extremely high. Like, I remember bringing home a 96 on a report card and getting in trouble because it wasn't 100.
Wow.
I made straight A's. Like, up until high school, the lowest grade I'd ever made on a report card was a 95. In a high school, I think the lowest I ever got was like a 93. Like I'm a nerd. But
and those are still A's. Even the 96 was
right.
an. How did you get in trouble for 96?
Because it wasn't 100. I wasn't perfect.
Here it is. We've never had this in our private conversations. There's where you learn perfectionism. You learned it. It's not a response to your trauma. You had it indoctrinated into you. Holy crap. Like, and I'll tell you the same thing with me. You had that perfectionism indoctrinated into you. I had hard work ethic indoctrinated into me. Now, I'm glad I work hard. Trust me, I love it. It makes me good at what I do because I can go and get things done. But I was told basically and made to feel bad if I didn't work. Like my dad, I was the hardest worker of all the kids. He had my older brother Kevin and my younger brother Nathan, and of the three of us, I ran circles around them. But I was still not good enough. I'm lazy. I'm all the things that I'm not, even though I was outperforming everybody. And I remember one story. My dad owned restaurants, and so he had truckers that would be out next to his sign. He was worried they're going to hit his sign. So he had me dig a post hole. I think I was 14 or 15. Dig a post hole, stick in the little pole, so then they can't park there because they would have to hit the pole to park close enough. So he's like, dig a post hole. I said, well, how deep? He said, oh, you can't go deep enough. Okay. So I'm doing all the post hole, getting blisters galore. And about an hour later, he comes out and he says, "Wow, you went deeper than I thought." And he starts kicking dirt back in the hole. I'm like,
Oh,
you little asshole.
oh my
And
gosh.
I wasn't good enough to dig a deep
Yeah.
enough hole. But then in my mind, because hard work is a virtue, I had to prove him wrong, and I did. I dug a really good hole to the point that he kicked some of the dirt back in. And the bad part, Brittany, and I'll never forget it, I can see it in my mind's eye now. He's laughing at me. He's laughing at me because he's kicking it back in the hole. And I'm just thinking, oh,
Wow.
yeah, I've never told you that story before. That just came
Yeah.
to
We got some new stuff coming out today. I wasn't anticipating this.
Yes, yes. First,
Yeah.
started with the bang, and now I'm crying a little bit. Hang on.
Right. I was like trying to hold it back while ago. Like, whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to take a step back and realize where things come from. And I've gotten to the point where I don't beat myself up over that inner drive that I have to be perfect, but it is still there. Just like your incredible work ethic. Like the work ethic shows up in my perfectionist tendencies, but like I can't keep up with Jimmy, and like I work really hard. Like I'm just like, hold on, Jimmy, I'm like 10 steps behind you, man. Hold on.
Well, it was funny when we came up with this idea for the podcast. Like within like an hour after that, I'm like,
Right.
I've already bought the URL. We got that ready to go. We got an Instagram page set up. I've tagged you in it, so we're already. And you're like, slow down, Nelly. Like,
I was like, hold up, what?
yeah. And then we created a logo within a day after that. So it's like, yeah, and again, it's part of that drive.
Yeah.
And I have perfectionist tendencies as well because of that desire. And all of these kind of work hand in hand. Maybe people, listening and watching to us right now are going, well, yeah, I have little characteristics like that. And it's like, once you have a little bit of one, you got a lot of bit of all of them. So
Yeah.
your perfectionism pushes you to work hard. My working hardism, pushes me to perfectionism. They all
Right.
kind of work hand in hand.
Right. Yeah, they definitely overlap. And I mean, just looking, and I know you and I are not the first, the last, the only people to have trauma in their lives. And also, just saying, trauma is not just someone touched me inappropriately. Trauma is not just someone beat the crap out of me. Trauma is anything that makes a mark in your brain that has now signaled your brain to be some way you were never meant to be.
2020 was trauma for everybody.
2020 should just be added to cuss word list, okay? Just like, oh my gosh.
Oh my 2020. Holy 2020.
I saw a TikTok right before I got on here, and some young little thing had a cold brew in her hand, and she's like, it's February, and it's like February 2020. And she's like, well, you've made it through the hardest month of the year. And it snaps to this woman with her hair like all up to here, and she's just laughing. And it says, like, she says, laughing in 2020. Just straight laughing, just crying, laughing, because it's November 2020, right? November? No, it's December 2020. And it has, wow, this year, like, just you and I are individual things, much less, the lack of toilet paper and the rioting in the streets. I mean, you and I have been through some personal stuff this year. Whew. I just need a drink for a second.
Drink away. I hope it's vodka.
Coffee. Whew.
And this is water.
I got that too.
There you go. But yeah, like people that don't know your story, they're getting to know you and I both today, but they're really getting to know you because they've heard me for years, although they're seeing a side of me I don't usually show on my other podcasts. I hope y'all appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Brittany brought it out in me, so thanks, Brittany. But yeah, you almost died this year, and you talk about chaos. tell a little bit of that story. I know you've told it many times on your page, on your Instagram page, but share with the people that haven't heard this.
So I just came to the 1 year anniversary of the original Brand New. The day after Thanksgiving of 2019, I was getting in a car, just sat down. I just sat down. I wasn't lifting anything heavy, nothing crazy. I just sat down in the car and got a hernia. Rushed to the emergency room. They reduced it, which is the very nice way of saying they pushed my intestines back into my body. It was extremely painful. No one should ever go through that. But I didn't know that that would be on like a 2 on the pain scale of what was coming. So fast forward 2 weeks. I spent 2 weeks on the couch waiting for my surgery. I have surgery the beginning of December, somewhere around the 12th-ish. I had surgery. And they said, all right, it'll take about 2 weeks to recover, max 3 or 4. You should start feeling better every single day. And I just kept feeling worse and worse. And the pain was awful. And just another little backstory. I'm very good with pain. I've had 2 home births. And, I describe them as whatever. So I'm pretty good with pain. And I kept calling the doctor, hey, something's wrong here. Something's wrong. And by January, I had developed a huge mass the size of my fist on one of the incisions. And my doctor's like, yeah, that's not normal. Maybe you should come in. And so I go in for an appointment 2 days later, because apparently it wasn't emergent. And I thought, well, if it's 2 days and it's not emergent, right? And so I go in and he's like, yeah, it doesn't look normal. I'm not really sure what it is. I've never seen anything like this. Panic starts to set in. He's like, I'm just going to go in. We'll open you up. We'll go next door. You'll have, a 2-inch incision right where it is. We'll just take a look. And I wake up and I'm all but gutted from underneath my breast straight through my belly button. I have a huge scar where when they repaired the hernia, the mesh has now eroded my entire insides. I lost intestines. They had to scrape my abdominal wall. It was black from necrosis. And so I wake up to this. I'm not expecting it. And I end up being in the hospital for 24 days and having 2 other procedures, and honestly not sure if I was going to make it. There were many times that my doctor was scared I wasn't.
Yeah, and guys, I'm one of her best friends. So she texted me while she was in the hospital, like, you were doom and gloom. You were like, Jimmy, I'm going to die. What am I going to do? I can't leave Wild Man with the girls. Oh my God. And you were freaking out. And I was trying to stir up every bit of whatever encouragement I could send your way. I don't know what it did. If anything, you had an outlet to send somebody something. But wow, that was chaos. And we're glad you're here as your friend. I'm extremely glad you're still here with us. I would have an emptiness in my life if you weren't in my life. So I'm glad you survived that. But post that was so weird for you as well, because you homeschool and your kids got behind in the school. We're feeling guilt from that. And again, the perfectionist kind of came back in. The chaos came back in. And even a few days ago, you and I talked. And you were so distraught, and you're like, there's so much laundry to get done, and I don't have time, and how am I going to do this? I got to homeschool. And I said, Brittany, breathe. You almost died earlier this year. You're good. Yeah. You're doing good. And it's like, you need those gentle reminders. Not what we think it is, even in the midst of the chaos sometimes. Yeah. Well,
yeah, the chaos was definitely all around when I got home, and it's been almost a year since that has happened, a year since the injury, and just as every anniversary comes up, it's two-sided. And I say this very often, that we have to find a place where we can hold seemingly opposite emotions in the same breath. So I'm angry and upset and broken and hurt over what happened to me, while simultaneously feeling utterly grateful for life and utterly grateful that I've made it to this point, that I can walk. I couldn't wear jeans for 5 months because of the incision. I'm just thankful that I can wear jeans again. You know, if we look hard enough, we can find gratefulness anywhere. And sometimes that gratefulness, kind of touching on something we had posted a couple days ago about grounding ourselves in gratitude. Like, I can't every day be thankful for what happened to me because it's really hard to be thankful to have gone through all of that. But I can be thankful that I can wear jeans again. You know, like, I can find thankfulness for that. I can ground myself that I am still here for my children. And maybe I did have to go back and redo an entire school year with my children because they missed it. I was bedridden from the end of November to March of 2020. Like, I couldn't walk.
And then COVID hit, so it was beautiful timing.
It's been a year, man. It's been a year.
It's been a century. What are you talking about?
Have you seen that thing going around on Facebook where it said, God speaking to the angel? It's been on TikTok too. God telling the newbie angel, did you get everything done for the 2020s? And the angel was like, you mean 2020? And God's like, no, the 2020s. And the angel's like, oh, oops.
Truth. Yes.
Oh,
Gosh, yes. Like, you and I have been through stuff in our own lives, like you were mentioning earlier, your kind of near death experience, and then all the aftermath of that. Can I tell you, our conversations have been so much more rich and deep since that experience. So I'm grateful I got that version of Brittany because of that chaos. I hate that you went through it. I don't want you to have to go through that again. But it's almost like somebody or something knew you could handle it.
Yeah.
And now you're going to share your wisdom here on this podcast.
Once I welcomed it, once I stopped freaking fighting it, once I welcomed the chaos and allowed it to just penetrate, just like somebody, you know, poured the water on the floor. That's another reference. Oh gosh, when I finally just poured the freaking water on the floor and just let it all out and just welcomed it in my life, welcomed every single moment, I have just grown. Like, I could probably tear up at the mental growth, the spiritual growth, the growth that I've had. And listen, I didn't just almost die. I wanted to die. I was in so much pain. And I think I really have only said that out loud to my husband. Yeah. I was ready to die. I was done. I was hurting so bad. And I had a doctor coming in every few hours telling me, you just got to fight. You just got to keep fighting, And after 24 days of that, you're like, I'm done fighting. Like, I want to just let me lay here. Just let me die. When you're on Dilaudid and morphine and nothing is touching your pain, and you're on, I had a PICC line. I had so many IVs blown that they had to place a PICC line. If you don't really know what that is, it's basically a port directly to your, like, in your arm up here, not like a little tiny needle. Hold on. Like the butterfly needles for the IV. It's not like that. It's like this big place and just pumping me full of so many fluids. And I was on 5 antibiotics at one time. I didn't eat for 19 of those days because I had a tube in my nose going down. Like, it was bad. And to get to that point after how Jimmy and I met each other was my weight loss journey with keto. I was at the height of, I had lost all this weight. I was in the gym. I was doing great. I felt great. And then bam, out of nowhere, literally everything was taken away, or that's what it felt like. And so, yeah, I had nothing. I felt like I had nothing left to give.
You've never told me that before.
I'm sorry.
No, that's...
Yeah.
Damn it, Brittany.
Oh gosh. Just laugh through the pain, man.
Oh,
Just
no, you had the pain. Like, I've talked to you a million times since that happened, and I never got the vibe that you wanted to end your life. Like, again, you have people that are special in your life, and you're one of those people to me. And I try to be that to you as well. Um, that got me good. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's normal. Like when you're in that
yeah.
kind of situation, as I wipe away tears and I have no comedy to bring to the situation to break the tension. Live in the tension, live in the chaos. That's what you always talk about.
Right. Breathe it in. Feel the feels.
I'm feeling the feels all right. Although that might just be gas. Just kidding. See,
There it goes. Yes.
there's the broken tension. So,
Yes.
yeah, wow. Yeah. Living through that with you, not being, but being your friend through that. Yeah. It's so tough. But see, here you are today,
Yeah.
resilient, rebounded. Um, and I tell people all the time that my best friend is 28 years old, but she's got the soul of an 80-year-old.
Oh yeah.
You literally have lived, talk about a decade worth in 1 year. You've lived a lifetime or two or three or four in 28 years.
Yeah.
And it's made you very wise, which is why I was excited to bring you on your own podcast. I've done the podcasting thing for years. I could literally do the interview format in my sleep, but I wanted to go one step deeper. I wanted to show emotion, and I don't care if people see a guy cry on camera. That's part of the allure of what we're going to do here. It's like when we talk, we go there, and we talk about the chaos in our own lives. I've been going through, a pretty difficult time myself. Can't talk a whole lot about it, but it's been a very difficult situation, and you've walked me off the ledge many a times. And often I have to remind myself, and I know you don't compare, but I do, because it makes me feel better, and that's the goal. But I didn't almost die this year. Maybe my soul did, but
Yeah. Part of you did, but
yeah, physically I didn't almost die. But I've had my moments where
yeah.
I needed a Brittany, and I've got other friends in my life that are. And you have even the chaos itself that just kind of reminds you, okay, it's kind of like you want to feel pain. Like you've heard that psychology experiment where those kids that don't feel pain at all, that go play in the fire and they don't know they're getting consumed up because they have no pain receptors. You almost want to feel so that you know what good feels like, so that you know what better is. And
Right.
never feel, and I know we talked about this in a post recently too, if you never feel, how do you have any kind of healing take place?
Yeah. You can't. You can't. And it's a really difficult place to be. And as much as I want these podcasts, these things that we talk about to challenge people, I also want to come at it with an extreme amount of grace, because I didn't get here through ease. Where I am now, and all of the wisdom and things and the little things that I say, you'll hear lots of those things that I repeat a million times again. I didn't get those by just having a beautiful life. Like, they came from a deep place of hurt. And you touched on it. I want to go back because it's so important, because you know this, but everybody else who's watching it may not. Don't compare your trauma to anybody else's. I almost lost my life this year. Jimmy's had his own. Neither one of those things can be compared, because they both are horrific and terrible and are traumatizing us. They cannot be compared. So even if you're sitting here and you're watching this, and the only thing you can drum up in your head that, oh, it's the worst thing that's happened to me, this year is COVID, baby, that's still hard. That's still hard. And you're not allowed to compare what you feel like in your head is lesser than our experiences. You're not allowed to do that. Or even the opposite way. I'm just going to say, you're not allowed to sit there and be like, well, They haven't been through anything compared to what I have, because everybody reaches their own speed limit. Everybody's speed limit is different. And once you get to that point, like, this is the max I can go. This is it. This is my speed limit. I can't go. You might be 35. I might be 75. Somebody else might be 105. You just never know. You can't compare.
Well, and I mean, so many people also say, well, I went through all of this, but then it's not that you went through stuff. We all have been through
Right.
semblance of stuff. It's how you respond to it. Like, you responded to the sexual abuse, and we'll get into it in future episodes, in a positive way. Eventually, it just took some time to process and go through it. And same with me, like, after I was abused pretty much constantly 3.5 years by my dad, I get out of the house. It took me 15 years to stop looking over my shoulder thinking the man was going to kill me. Like, I was that paranoid, thinking he was coming to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, and ironically, it was about the same time I switched my diet and got healthier. But even since then, it's taken another good chunk of time to then kind of work on this version of Jimmy I am today. Like, I don't think Brittany would have liked Jimmy version at 28. I was still a very angry man. I was still very upset, and I don't think we would have vibed. You'd have been like, that's too much, man. You'll work on yourself.
I don't care. Like, I love to connect with people, and I have a lot of harsh people in my lives. A lot of people that my own family's like, no, we don't want to deal with you. And I'm just like, oh, please let me therapy you. Let me help you, because they are very harsh people. My only problem with people like that is when they're not receptive. Like, I will help you. I will do anything I can, but you wouldn't have been receptive at 28.
Yeah, and I said that about myself, because I had to come to a lot of realizations on my own, and it just took time. It took healing. It took people in my life. So again, I'm grateful you're in my life, because you and others. I've got another friend, Evelina, I talk to often. I've got different people in my life that you challenge me, you care about me, and you genuinely loved me. Love me, not past tense loved. You loved me, not anymore. We're doing a podcast, so she's mad at me now, you guys. No, you love me, and all the things. And so you got to take yourself. If you're not there yet, and you're watching this right now, or you're listening to it on the podcast, and you're not there yet, don't beat yourself up. Like, it's a process. One of the goals of this podcast, that we get you to think one step deeper, and that one step deeper is inwardly, not outwardly. And not just one step. I hope you go 100 steps, 1,000,000 steps deeper. I think what you're hearing from me, yeah, what you're hearing from me, Brittany, today is we've gone that deep, and we're there, but we've not arrived. Look, don't ever look at us and, well, they figured things out, and they're perfect. Oh God, no. We have mindsets, and I work my butt off, and you're perfect. No, we're not that. Don't go there.
No. Jimmy had his moment Thanksgiving Day. I had my moment the day after Thanksgiving, and then I had a moment like 2 days later. Like, honey, they come. They're always going to be there. But it's not necessarily about avoiding chaos ever. It's about, how do you take this chaos that's in your life and quickly rebound and get back to a place of, okay, let's tackle it, and exactly. Like, listen, I may or may not have had like a full sitting on the floor in my hallway on the hardwood floor, crying my eyes out. I may or may not have had that like 2 days ago.
Why am I visualizing that now?
Because you've seen it before.
Heard you at your very worst, in a hospital room, at least through text message. And I've heard you pretty bad, and you've heard me pretty bad the same way. Not in a hospital room, thank God, but upset. And
like, do not be watching this thinking whatsoever that Jimmy and I have any bit of this completely figured out. Like, we're here to go one step deeper and try to find those things that help us, help each other, help you watching. Like, this all will come out as we keep going. Like, Jimmy and I have just dared to take that one step, and it's almost like, hey, come along with us, like take
Well,
this step with us.
the fun part, when you go one step deeper, it actually makes you want to go 3 or 4 more, and then 3 or 4 more. It's almost, I know we've dabbled in the keto diet. When you take that first step and you really kind of start, you kind of get excited because you see momentum right away. And so it makes you want to go a little more. And same way with this, guys, like look at it way. And we're not going to talk about diet on this show. That's not the purpose of this show. No. We will use a lot of analogies because that's where that we came from. Yeah, it's just such one of those concepts that I was like, we need to do that podcast, Brittany, because we go deep all the time in conversation. It's like we're leaving a lot of content in our personal calls with each other. We're a little more formal than I guess we typically would be because we're talking to an audience, not just to each other. But hopefully you're getting a taste of how open we're being, how vulnerable we're being. We both have been on the edge of tears. See, I cried more than you did. That's how it goes. Although 3 days ago was a totally different story.
Right.
She was in a bad place, you guys. So yes, but quick. And that's what I love. Like when you go one step deeper, you rebound quicker. You are more resilient, and you feel the feels. You have your moment, and then you learn from it and move on.
Yeah, and so if you're brand new to me, which chances are, if you found this through Jimmy, you don't know my saying, which is feel the feels. So often, I think we wrote a post about this a couple days ago, that you must feel it to heal it. Like you have to, and it's hard, and it's so hard. And I want to just give you all the grace that I possibly can, and understanding that it is so hard to feel these things, especially if you've locked them away for so long and you've quieted them with things like perfectionism or overworking or eating a certain way or exercising this way, or if you've all your life just silenced that, like it's really hard to start pulling that stuff to the surface. So be gracious with yourself, but at the same time, you have to allow yourself to feel it. And I mean, even if it's, you set a timer, like I'm a timer person, I'm a schedule person. I set a timer for 5 minutes and just feel it. I get out notebook. I write, and I'm angry and I'm pissed at the world, and I just let it all out. And then I'm just like, okay, had your moment. It's out of your head. It's on the paper. It no longer needs to swirl in your head. It's out. Either rip the paper up, burn it, shred it, keep it to read later, whatever works for you. But I have to get it out of my brain and start that process. And just like Jimmy and I are talking here, and both of us have had a story that we've never told each other, with the hours and hours and hours we've spent on the phone together, things just come out. And you're like, oh, right. That's what made that happen, or that's what made that be a part of me. And it just all ends up circling around. And again, one step deeper. Every step that you go deeper, you learn more and more about yourself and more about why you are the way you are. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you a bad person because you have these tendencies. It's just you have to arrest them and realize, okay, I am this way. I'll take me, for example. I'll be the harsh one on me. I have perfectionist tendencies. There are good and bad to both of those. And when I get overstimulated by the need for perfection, like the other day when I was crying on the floor, that's what it was about. I had all this laundry to do, and I was behind on laundry, and I never do that. I don't like getting behind on laundry. I was behind on dishes. I was behind on schoolwork. I was behind on a project that you and I are working together, and just like all of these things that I wasn't being perfect at. And so just lid blown off.
And then you guys, when she talked to me that day, and you mentioned this earlier about pouring the water, you tell the story about the pouring the water when you were 5. I made her pour the water. So let her tell this story, and then we'll end on this. Tell the story about what pouring the water was.
Okay, so 5 years old, my mom had noticed that I was a perfectionist, and that if I did anything, like I would have a meltdown. Like if my room wasn't perfectly clean, and I shared a room with my brother who was not clean, and so it was a thing. I would have a breakdown. At 5 years old, my mom called me into the living room, and we had this green carpet. It was the 90s. ugly ass green carpet, and I would never forget it. She called me in. She had a glass of water, clear glass of water, and she said, "Pour it on the floor." No, no, I'm not doing that. Pour it on the floor. I want you to pour it on the floor. And I'm like, that's wrong. What? I can't do that, Mom. I started crying. Yo, I'm 5. Just picture me. I was blonde at the time. Believe it or not, I'm naturally blonde. Oh, and so she's like, just pour it on the floor. And so through much reluctancy, I pour it on the floor. And that moment that's probably the earliest memory that I have, is that moment of dumping that water on the floor. And she looked at me in my eyes and said, "Brittany, it's okay not to be perfect. Like, I'm going to cry about it. Like, it's okay not to be perfect." And it still didn't compute. It didn't sit in. And like many times I have to go there mentally. And the other day I had to go there physically. Every house I've ever lived in, I have done this exercise where I go to the sink and I fill up a clear, it must be clear, glass of water so that you can see it. And I fill it all the way to the top. And as I'm feeling it, I'm thinking of all the things that people have said, done to me, or things on the outside that I can't control. And I'm just thinking about all these things as I fill up this cup. And it gets to the very top. Like, if I take one step, it's going to fall out, get to the top of the cup. Nobody wants that shit to fall out. Nobody wants that chaos to fall out on the floor. You want to keep it in. You want to keep it in your cup. But the problem is, you got all the shit in your cup. And if you take one damn step, it's going to fall out. And so what do? You go to the carpet. Jimmy made me go to the carpet. I have hardwood floors now, and I could have put it on the floors.
Oh, I did more than that. I was almost yelling at you.
Oh, yes.
Brittany, pour the damn water. Pour it. I was yelling at her to pour it.
Yelling at me. And so I dumped it on the floor. And then Jimmy had to take it one more step. And he's like, "Put your foot in it. Push it down." And I'm like, I'm still mad at you about that. I just harbor anger for that.
You're not that mad. You're on here with me today. So.
Oh, and then he was like, "Don't clean it up." And I'm like,
That's water. It'll evaporate. How is it that way? How is it?
With the water?
All right.
Yeah, I'm in the spot where I dump the water out.
Oh, that's beautiful. Nothing happened, right?
Well, I felt a whole lot better after I did it, but no, nothing physically happened.
Oh, so you felt better. So in the moment it hurt, kind of like being in the hospital.
Yeah.
And later on, it's okay. Kind of like later on in the year, Brittany's okay now, despite the chaos. Well, okay-ish. For Brittany, you're okay. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yes. For me, I am okay. I am good.
And now you have a new podcast that you're going to help change other people's hearts and minds.
Yes. Still a little crazy, but yes, I am welcoming all the chaos.
Yeah, it's so funny because she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to do a podcast with Jimmy Moore." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not Jimmy Moore anymore. I'm just Jimmy." So I've long past being that, because you kind of was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm meeting Jimmy Moore." And now you're like, "What's up, Jimmy?" It's like,
"Hey, Jimmy."
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the way. Well, guys, that's episode 1. Like, we're in the can now. One Step Deeper podcast. If you want to connect with us over on Instagram, that's where both Brittany and I hang out, is over there. We not just do this podcast, we do regular posts there as well. So we mentioned that several times during the show today, that we do posts. And so we go one step deeper in these posts too. And you wrote one recently about being 3 stairs from the top. Oh my gosh. I was like, that's going to drop a bomb on me, baby, when it gets out there. So if you want to get inspired in written form, you have this podcast for audio and video, but go read our posts as well. It's on Instagram and it's on Facebook. And coming soon, we will have a website. It'll be onestepdeeperpodcast.com. Still working on it, but when it's out, go check it out. We'll have all the videos here. And once we get on to audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all those other places out there, you'll be able to listen there. But thank you so much for being here today. And Brittany, you survived your very first episode.
Yes, you survived too, sir.
Oh, true. Because I don't usually do this.
This is new.
It's new for me. Like, because every instinct in my body wants to go, hey, guys, we're back here. No, I'm not that guy anymore. Not this show. This show, I'm like, sup, Britt? I don't think I've literally ever said sup, Britt, to you.
Because I would laugh at you.
You would laugh the hell at me.
So much. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
That'd be like you calling me the gymster. What's up, the gymster? I'd be like, are you drunk? Can I have some? No. No.
That's almost as bad as letting Brianka out.
Oh, and we're going to talk about Brianka on another episode. But for now.
Yes. We'll leave you with that.
So much for watching. Say bye, Brittany.
Bye.